What's your story that sounds like a lie but is 100% true? When I was about 4 or 5, I always used to get a lot of colds, like pretty much every week, and my nose was running all the time, like considerably more than would be normal for a kid my age. My mom took me to the doctor to see if there was any reason why, and he managed to find a stone wedged up my nose. He reckoned it had been up there a couple of years as the nose tissue had grown around it. Apparently the best thing to do was put a drill up my nose and break the stone into pieces so it would come out. Yes, you read that right, put a drill up a small child's nose. So anyway, that's what happened, and to be fair, it worked. It was obviously quite a scary experience given my age, however, and I still feel affected as an adult. Even to this day I'm still terrified of people putting drills up my nose. I've posted this story before. In a welding shop, atop a 12-foot ladder, running 3-inch chain welds along the roof seam of an aluminum trailer, I leaned out too far to get that one last weld and the ladder tipped. I literally walked down the side of the ladder as it fell to the ground, without even coming near losing my balance. I did with a Cobramatic MIG gun in my hand, and my hood down, so both encumbered and completely blind. The very best part, it was witnessed by my partner, who went around telling everyone that I had pulled off some wire-fu-looking shiz. A once-in-a-lifetime move that would 100% end in disaster if I ever tried to replicate it. Many years ago I was jumped by 3 guys after coming out of a bar. Somehow I was the only one standing at the end of the fight. It was entirely a fluke, and I don't even really remember how it happened because it was over in a flash. I think one of them may have accidentally punched the other, and I must have just got exceptionally lucky with my desperate swings. I suspect one of them may have even slipped on some ice and hit his head on the way down. An acquaintance saw it happen from down the street, and she told the rest of my friends that I was some kind of MMA ninja, but it was truly just luck. For years I had this reputation as some kind of badass fighter, based solely on a 6-second interaction with 3 drunken idiots on a slippery sidewalk. Once when I was 5 years old, my cousin asked me if I could do a flip. I lied, and she said do one, so I did. I even landed on my feet. I've never done another flip after that. My buddy and I were about 10 years old. Around the neighborhood was a long stretch of sidewalk, and sometimes semi-trucks would park what they hauled there and leave it there, driving off in their cab. It was one of those grain or sand boxes that opened from the bottom to release the load, and the top was not covered. As kids we didn't know what was in there and decided to climb up to see what was inside. As we started climbing up, a police vehicle slams his brakes next to the boxes. Yells at us with a serious look on his face, "Are you having fun?" We both went, He repeats himself, "Are you having fun?" We both reply, yeah. He yells, "Good," and he proceeds to do a vehicular donut and takes off tires screaming. We both looked at each other like WTF. I stole a couple oranges from Arnold Schwarzenegger. In all fairness, they weren't really his oranges. I was 10 and on a tour of the State House in California while Arnold was governor. The tour guide pointed out the oranges trees outside of his office and called them the governor's oranges. So, naturally, I took a couple. Didn't tell anyone until we got home. My uncle and I ate the governor's oranges. He gave me a sandwich when I was 4. He was shooting a movie called Eraser on my block, and I was with my dad. They used our house's front part for lighting equipment. I'm not sure exactly if many more details, I just remember meeting the Terminator and him grabbing a sandwich off the catering table and giving it to me. Got the SWAT team called on me and my brother when we were 9. They had 2 helicopters surrounding us and a team with guns loaded pointing at the 2 of us. What was it for? Some crazy lady complained there were armed men going on a shooting rampage. Little did she know we were 9 shooting glow-in-the-dark Nerf guns. Back in Russia when I was 14, friends and I stumbled on an abandoned mansion in the woods outside of Moscow. We hung out there daily for a week because nobody was there, ate the food, used the tub, watched TV, etc. We rummaged through the house and found a bunch of guns in a basement but didn't really think much of it. Went back to the city with my mom to buy groceries and such, then came back to continue our partying. On the way there, me and my friend were followed by a black Mercedes. Two men got out and screaming, "Those are the Birches," started chasing us. We ran into the woods and hid under a huge log. The men ran right past us. One said that they had to find us, another said that we are just molokososy, milk suckers, aka very young, and shouldn't be much trouble. We stayed under that log for another hour, to make sure they left, and ran home. After that we avoided that area. Turns out the whole place was rigged with cameras and we had no idea, since it was mid-90s Russia. The people were mafia that sold weapons and saw us raiding the place on camera. When I was in my 20s, before we had families and bills, a couple of friends and I pooled together $250 each for a $1,000 raffle ticket. The prize, a round of golf with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, we won. So a couple of weeks later there we were golfing with Arnold. When he first arrived he greeted us, shook our hands, and had a very disinterested demeanor. We didn't think much of it, none of us had met an A-list celebrity before and we didn't want to come off like excited groupies. We get to the 6th hole and Arnold is smoking a huge cigar and still hasn't said a word to us. Barely even looked at us. We're still trying to play it cool around him, well except my friend Doug. So Doug goes over to him and says something to the tune of, "Arnold, we kinda spent a lot of money for this and we were hoping you'd kinda hang out more." So Arnold slowly looks up at Doug with a scowl, takes the cigar out of his mouth and says, "Hey Dougie, do you remember your first BJ?" Doug is thrown off a little, takes a second and replies, yeah. To which Arnold then asks, "How did it taste?" We all start laughing and then Arnold says, "Come on guys, I've been effing with you. You guys took so effing long." After that we all had a blast and Arnold was cool as shiz the rest of the round. This seems 100% on brand for Arnold. I love it. My parents and I went to a safari park as a kid, in the early 80s. Very not up to code place. All the safe animals roamed free. We were idiots and went through in our own car. Well, we also fed the animals. So we almost got peed on by a huge giraffe. A buffalo stuck its head in my dad's window. A pregnant zebra stole my mom's apple and all that was before we reached Monkey Land. That was the highlight. Monkeys are rude furry FRs when food is involved. Monkeys everywhere, yet we fed them. Still it was relatively okay. That was when the bear showed up. This guy must have seen some shiz. He was older than dirt and looked like a fur rug with nails. Senile as F most likely. So he'd been around most of the trip and wanted in on the food. So after some debate we decided he was docile enough and held out a cookie. Poor old Pokey the bear dragged himself over to the car, very slowly and gently raised his paws and politely took the cookie, then this little hand comes down and snatched the cookie from his paw. Bastard monkeys. That bear just snapped. I can only imagine those monkeys had been stealing his shiz for ages. He rested up trying to kill this monkey and we hit the gas. Bear effed off, but this scared the monkey who fell onto the hood of our car. He then got scared by the windshield wipers and knocked off our mirror. He then proceeded to notice his own reflection and run off with it. Funniest story to look back on. I've given myself a black eye twice. Ironically enough it was doing the exact same thing, but years apart. I was at home and dropped something on the floor but didn't realize how close to a door it was. I naturally bent down to try to get it and whack. I hit my face on the doorknob. Second time was the exact same thing. It always sounded like a lie explaining to friend and family why I had a shiner. Them thinking I was too embarrassed to say I got into a fight or something. So, back when I was in high school, we had a snowstorm. Hundreds of us gathered on the playing fields for a massive free-for-all snowball fight. Some were a little rougher than others, and would perform a snow plow. Basically just tripping you up and kicking snow all over you. As I was wandering through the chaos, a couple of older lads noticed me and started to give chase. I knew what would happen, so I started sprinting like mad. Here's the unbelievably slapstick bit. Mid-stride, I scooped up some snow, made a ball, looked back, and lightly popped it straight up. A couple seconds pass. I look back again to see it plop right on one of their heads, causing him to lose balance, and take his butt down with him. Getting away scot-free, I laughed as I made my escape through the crowd. Sometimes I wonder if they remember, and feel the embarrassment of getting done dirty like that.